Okay, and maybe we are live. I'm testing out some new software, so it works a little bit different. Maybe we're not live. Um, it's okay. I think I am live now. It's always a little bit difficult when using new software and the way that this stuff works to know what exactly is happening. But thank you all so much for joining me on this live stream. I'm trying to test out some new software to be able to do more live streams with other people joining in, and in particular to do a live podcast on Wednesday with Griffin. But as is the case with these things, we ran into technical problems. And so thus far, he is not able to join us. Hopefully, maybe, well, he's saying he might be good. He might be joining me just about now. But, technology is always a little bit interesting. So he's texting me while I just went live, and then he's like, it's all working now. Can I join in? So, anyway, once again, thank you all for joining in. We're probably going to have some technical problems, have a few issues along the way with all of this, but we will see what happens. Trying some new stuff. First question, Yankee88 asks, who's your favorite movie villain? Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Just such a great performance from Alan Rickman, who just has so much charm. He's so sleazy, and he doesn't need like this big motivation. He's just this great character in the movie that you love to hate, but you love it when he's on screen too. So, yeah. Oh, so it looks like Griffin is not joining just yet. He thought he had it, and then technology didn't want to work. Let's see. We've got movies, reviews, and rankings by Reese. What do you think of Tron Legacy? So essentially with both Tron movies, I feel like I like the concept better than the execution. They have very cool concept of people going into video games, cutting edge special effects when both movies came out. So that's all positives. But the actual story isn't as compelling as you watch it as I think it probably should be given the concept of it. Especially, so we're talking about Tron Legacy. The score by Daft Punk is awesome. And because that 21st century stuff, when it's doing the video game stuff in this world, is very cool. They tried to de-age Jeff Bridges, and I don't think that it's kind of infamous for not being very good. And so, I want to like the Tron movies more than I actually do like the Tron movies. So that would be kind of the way that I would kind of describe my take on those films. All right, next question. I get this one all the time. Who's your favorite actor? Stallone, Sylvester Stallone. I don't actually like to pick favorites. People think I do because I'm the guy that makes lists and I rank things. And, that it's just a way for me to talk about movies that people seems to have enjoyed. I enjoy doing it. But the specific act of picking a favorite is not something I actually like doing. So, but just going through enough life, watching enough stuff happens, I just had to say Stallone. I love his movies. Even earlier today, I was watching the training montages from the Rocky movies while working out. So there you go. Here's an important question. Do you wear Crocs? No, I don't like Crocs. I don't wear Crocs. I've never owned a pair of Crocs. My wife doesn't have any Crocs. My kids don't have any Crocs. Actually, my kids might have some Crocs because we have a lot of hand-me-downs from people. So I probably have some Crocs for my kids for that reason. I do not like Crocs. I do not wear Crocs. So, no, I'm not a Crocs person at all. Okie dokie. Let's see, where are we at on some questions? If you don't know, if you're tuning in a little bit later, I'm testing out some new software here, and so I'm going to be a little bit scatterbrained because I'm trying to go through some different places and different things to find things. So it's all new and different for me, and so if I'm having a little bit of trouble finding things or scatterbrained, that's because this is a test for me to try and figure out some of this stuff. We got Adam Grunther with a super chat. Thank you so much. How would you rank the 5 vacation movies. Okay. Vegas Vacation, Christmas, Europe. I can only think of 4. So if you're thinking it's Christmas Vacation 2, actually the remake. Okay. I haven't seen all of them recent enough to be able to give a definitive ranking. Vegas Vacation is the worst. I think I've only seen it once, and even when I was a kid, I didn't care for it too much. Then tied in kind of this third, fourth spot will be European Vacation and the remake with Ed Helms. I didn't hate the remake. It wasn't awesome either. People want to just crap on it and everything. I was fine with it. Same with European Vacation. It's just doesn't have the magic of the 1 and 3. Then, I don't know, picking between Christmas and just Vacation, I think I might... Oh, that's tough. I haven't watched them back to back recent enough. And when I do my rankings, I watch all of them real quick, so I have a very fresh feeling on it. And I can evaluate them a little bit better. So it's very much Vegas. I just don't like it. These two, they're okay. And then at the top, Christmas Vacation, classic for Christmas movies. But then just the original Vacation is a classic road trip movie with a family, both very funny. I might edge out the first one, but I don't know. I don't think I could pick. Just off the top of my head, I don't think I could pick between the two of them which one I would put on top. Real quick, Dorito Chip Gamer. Sean, your favorite Scorsese movie? I don't really have one. I know he's one of the best directors of all time, and I'm a movie guy, so I'm supposed to be like, oh, Scorsese, and have this very distinct favorite movie from him. I really don't. And with where my phase in life, I don't just sit around watching Scorsese 2.5 hour, 3 hour epics all that often. So that's part of the problem for why I don't have a good answer for you on a question like this. Sorry about that. I wish I could. Taxi Driver's great. But he's got, obviously all of his movies are great. So I just don't have a good answer for you. Sorry about that. Majestic Demon with a super chat. Thank you so much. Who is the least interesting MCU character? Because you have a lot of side characters, so you have to kind of pick someone that has to be main cast. They've had to have been on like a poster or something like that. And it's probably a lot of these love interests that just kind of disappeared. Rachel McAdams, what was even her name in Doctor Strange? Like, you forget, oh yeah, Rachel McAdams is in the MCU. You forget about her. Jane Foster in 2 different movies, doesn't really make too much of a mark. If you're kind of going with some of the heroes, they haven't done much with Falcon. I like the character, but if the question is interesting, Falcon isn't a terribly interesting character. So he might be one that I would say is not very interesting. Okay, questions. Here's one. Do you have the DC Universe streaming service? I do. I got it actually before it launched. They did a sale on it, and so I signed up for it, and then I re-upped. I don't use it too much. I've tried to read some comics, but I don't have an iPad, and doing it on my phone or laptop doesn't feel right. And so I haven't used as much as I'd like to. I normally use it for the older TV shows. I've watched season 1 of Titans. It kind of enjoyed it. It was like hit or miss for me. Watched the first episode of Doom Patrol. Kind of worked for me, kind of didn't. I'm Batman. How do you get your beard like that? Go into quarantine. Don't shave for a while. And then I'm combing it down and doing everything I can to make it look as thick as I can. All the tricks I can come up with to make it look thick, because I don't really have a particularly thick beard, so then it's kind of combing it down and rearranging little hairs in the right spots, and a couple other tricks that I don't want to disclose all of my beauty secrets. But the fun thing about it is you can see all my grays. Got the Reed Richards thing in the beard especially. There's actually a line right here of this is all gray and this is kind of thicker or darker. That's where my age shines through. If you don't know, I'm 38 years old. Some people think I'm younger. I'm not. I'm old. Okay, where are we at on our questions? Luke says favorite soundtrack. I don't know, because I don't. Anytime you ask favorites, if I haven't made a video about it, I probably don't have a default answer that comes immediately to mind. I just don't right off the top of my head, because by my nature, I'm just not that person. So, I mean, some great ones. Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. Top Gun. A bunch of movies from like 98 until like 2004 had really good soundtracks like that I remember and I bought. Even bad movies like Mission Impossible 2 and Daredevil, I remember buying the soundtrack and listening to them all the time. Armageddon, of course, classic movie soundtrack. All right. If you don't know, this is a test to try and figure out how to do a live stream for the podcast and some other different stuff. I'm using new software. That's why I'm able to actually put your questions up on the screen. I'm figuring out a little bit as I go along. I think Griffin's going to be able to join me. He says he's going to be able to join me. Let's see. Let me try this. Let's see what happens. He says that he's on, but I do not see him. I'll try giving him a call. Sorry about that. So we had a super chat from, where'd it go? Super chat from Master Yoda says, what is your least favorite Star Wars battle? So if you don't know, I guess you don't know, I actually have a, video where I did ranked all of the final battles and lightsaber battles and battles in Star Wars. So I have one where I did a bunch of that stuff. And, okay, I see Griffin. How can I add him in is the question. Or can I add him? I don't know. Okay.
Should be able to.
There he is. Griffin, there. He just joined in, and I might have a fancy frame I can put on top of you. There you go. There we go. Very cool. So, I'm not going to be able to put the questions on screen anymore. I don't think. Sorry about that. It actually is clicking in. Let me check something. I'm using new software. Every time you guys leave a comment, it clicks in my ears. So that would be that'll be a little bit annoying to do for this entire thing. So if I'm trying to talk with Griffin, here's the question: what is your least favorite battle in Star Wars?
Least favorite? Can we count the Rise of Skywalker as a whole movie? Because every single battle in that film is not good. Literally every single one.
What?
Yeah. I know. I come in like a bat out of hell, and I come in with, I guess, all the hot takes. That's what I'm here for. So
well, I guess it's not that hot of a take. A lot of people agree with you on that one. That's my son's favorite movie. He's still saying it months later that it's his favorite movie of all time. For me, least favorite, it's tough to say because Star Wars, I think, generally does good battles. I don't know if I entirely agree with it, but like, I mean, as big sequences with effects, there's like, they're bad because the movie doesn't work. So you get to the climax of Rise of Skywalker, and they try and do the endgame portal sequence, and pose like, "Oh, we're not gonna make it." Man, I really thought we had a shot, and then Lando shows up. You're like, you didn't do any homework to earn that moment. The movie doesn't know,
and that's why that sequence ultimately fails. It's just I've never seen like a film try to create such a grand moment and feel absolutely nothing when it was all said and done. It was just so unearned.
And that's why we say worst. There's some great stuff in there. There's moments that I love in that one, but I just don't think as a whole it entirely works. Okay, next question we're going to go with favorite Clint Eastwood movie. So I am partial to the spaghetti westerns. A Fistful of Dollars was huge for me. In the Line of Duty from the early 90s is a movie that was like real important for me. If you're talking about directorially, that's kind of a different set. My brain's not. I'm just thinking about him as an actor. Griffin, how about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, it depends on how you break it down. I'll do my favorite is him as an actor, and then my favorite is him as a director. Favorite overall, both categories combined, and favorite as him as an actor would be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Really, the entire Man with the No Name trilogy. Yeah. I just think all three films are an absolute.
And those are when I say spaghetti westerns, that's what we're referring to. A Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. 3 movies he did like back to back to back. They're called spaghetti westerns because they're from Italy, from Sergio Leone. So you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah, exactly. And actually, while we are talking about spaghetti westerns, if you haven't seen those films, definitely go see them. But definitely go see the second one for a few dollars more, because I think that one gets it gets lost in the mix a little bit because it is like the middle installment. Fistful of Dollars, everyone knows what that is because it's the film that like broke out and started the whole, you know, Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone spaghetti western thing. And then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is just one of the most iconic movies of all time. For a few dollars more, actually might have the best villain out of the three. Anyways, but yeah, that one. And then directorially, it's really hard to top Unforgiven. I mean, that's just, it's Clint in a genre that he knows through and through. He not only gives a great performance, but it's a masterclass in like his ability as a director. So
next question is really just one for me. From Majestic Demon with the Super Chat. Just out of curiosity, did your How to Fix Phantom Menace do well enough for us to expect a How to Fix Attack of the Clones video? Thank you so much for the Super Chat. I kind of said I didn't know if I'd keep doing them. It kind of depended how the video did. It did well enough that I had enough fun with it that I plan on doing more and making kind of a series out of it. Actually, next Marvel Monday, Mondays I'm putting out a Marvel video. So today I have a Marvel ranking coming tonight. And next week, I believe I'm going to do How to Fix Iron Man 2. And then a couple weeks after that, I'm going to do Attack of the Clones. How to Fix Attack of the Clones. So that is very much on my mind and something I'm looking to do. All right. How excited are you for Venom 2? I'm surprisingly optimistic. I wasn't crazy about the first one, but I like the relationship. There's potential in it that I could be down for more of this. And so the idea of, I'm totally optimistic, even though I thought there was a lot of problems with the first film. How about you, Griffin?
I'm excited. Listen, Venom is not a great movie, but I think it doesn't get enough credit for how self-aware it was. I like, even though it's kind of like a messy movie and there's some like terrible CG, there's some terrible just like moments in general, and it's like all over the place. I do think at its core it did have like a good enough story, and like I think Ruben Fleischer was and Tom Hardy to an extent was pretty like aware of what they were doing. So I think moving on with the sequel, they know what they need to fix. They have someone like Andy Serkis directing, while you know not necessarily the most like acclaimed or proven director, he is someone who I think, well, not even I think he's 100% a step up from Ruben Fleischer, who is just, he's become Sony's Ron Howard, and that's even a compliment too far. So,
Griffin always with the harsh takes. I try to be the nice guy, and Ruben Fleischer sucks.
Listen, if Ruben Fleischer ever comes on the show, I'm sure he'll have some words to say with what I've said.
What has Andy Serkis directed? Mowgli?
So he did Mowgli, Mowgli, sorry.
Mowgli.
Mowgli. He also did this really good film with Andrew Garfield about the guy who I believe he has like I don't know whether it's polio or some sort of disease, but it was like a period piece, and it was his directorial debut, and it was actually really good, like as far as just like biopics go. Not anything like special, but it showed promise. So I feel like, yeah, I
should probably look into it. I'd say, I'm always rooting for Andy Serkis. Because he's like so pivotal to movies. Yeah. So many awesome movies, but you don't actually see his face. He's way more important than he is known. And so anything that gets him known, I'm always for it. But moving along to our next question. Yeah. Trailers in the movies with a super chat. Thank you so much. Favorite Kubrick film? If you can go first on that one.
Oh God. Probably 2001. I mean, I would have to say.
So that means you hate The Shining? That was my interpretation.
No, well, as you can tell by my reaction, that's a really tough question because, like, given the day, I could go The Shining. I could go The Killing. I could go what? Oh God, what's the or how
Doctor Strangelove.
Doctor Strangelove. Yes, thank you. Spartacus. Really, it just comes back down to the fact that I saw 2001 in an IMAX theater for the first time that I ever saw that film at 70 millimeter on the re-release, and it just blew my mind. So that's one that just has stuck with me.
So I've kind of said this many times before. I'm not my brain's not wired for Kubrick. I'm just not wired that way. He's very artistic. I'm more clunky structure movie guy. And I can appreciate what he does, but he's not one that I just love his movies. So people ask me all the time to rank his movies. I don't think I would do a very good job. I don't think fans of Kubrick would like it very much. I have a soft spot in my heart for Doctor Strangelove. I remember back growing up watching it with my sister and discovering this super weird movie that's got James Earl Jones, and it's a comedy. Like, he's known for Shining and these weird, trippy 2001. And Doctor Strangelove is a straight-up comedy.
Yeah.
And so that one, and then the first hour of Full Metal Jacket, I love. The second hour, not quite as much, but I'm just not wired for the way that he works as much. Someday, sure. I absolutely need to do it, and probably team up with someone, maybe you, to make that one happen. Next up, can Anastasia 1997 become a Disney princess? If you don't know what they're referring to, because Anastasia was a Fox animated film that was acquired by Disney. Now Anastasia, this Fox princess, is under the umbrella of Disney. Does she become a Disney princess? So if you consider Princess Leia a Disney princess, I think you got to say Anastasia's Disney princess. But that's tricky. I think you get into that's where it gets a little bit complicated if you want to play that game.
Yeah, for me personally, while I like the sentiment of Princess Leia being a Disney princess, I feel like they should just keep the Disney princesses to the Disney stuff, right? Like their animated movies. They're
designed to be a Disney princess. It's not, hey, Disney made a movie, you're a princess, therefore you're a Disney princess. It's that they have these arcs, these stories that they're trying to tell, and build a catalog of them. It's different.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get into the thing where it's like, well, is every female-led Disney movie, is she now a Disney princess? Right. You know what I'm saying? Just like that's weird. That doesn't seem right. Yeah. Like, they can have prestige without being a Disney princess. So
I would tend to agree with that. That I think Disney princess needs to be a defined category. In the same way that just because it was an animated film that's owned by Disney doesn't make it part of the Disney canon. Disney canon refers to movies that were made by Disney Animated Studios, or whatever the name of the studio is. It's not the same thing. Okay, let's do a quick one on this one. Who do you want as a Spider-Man villain?
Well, that's easy for me because I already got it. I wanted Mysterio forever, and I got him, so I'm satisfied. Whoever they want to tackle next is fine.
Okay. Oh, here's one just for you from GamerGirl. Very regular in my live streams. Thanks for joining in, GamerGirl. What year did Griffin graduate?
Graduate what? High school or college?
Pick one. Both, I guess.
I graduated high school in 2013, and I graduated college in 2017.
So I'll answer two on this question to demonstrate the age difference. I graduated high school in the year 2000, and I graduated from college in the year 2008. Watched the movie Tommy Boy last night, and one of the big jokes in the movie Tommy Boy is that Tommy Boy took 7 years to graduate from college, and then David Spade character goes, Tommy Boy goes, a lot of people take 7 years to graduate from college. David Spade then responds back, yeah, they're called doctors. I took 8 years to graduate from college, and I started college right after high school, or one semester after high school, so I legitimately did take almost 8 years to graduate from college, but there's a lot of life that happened in there, but and I graduated with high honors, so
you're fine. You're fine.
I don't want to change too many details about my life, so I won't complain too much. Okay, Film Addict with a super chat. Favorite Michael Keaton movie? Thoughts on Birdman? What is it? Keep Kicking Butt, You Both. So, favorite Michael Keaton movie for me? I'll just go nostalgia. I'll go with Batman 1989. That movie's huge for me. Even right here next to me, I still have my Batman movie trading cards. I have the full set for Batman and Batman Returns. It's right here next to me. So I'll go nostalgia on that one. And so how about you? Favorite Michael Keaton movie?
Well, I'll just go with what I think is his best performance, and that's Birdman.
And that'll lead into our next question.
Yeah, right. Which is like if you guys don't know, Birdman is one of my favorite films of all time. So like I just from the moment I saw that, I thought the whole concept and the way that it was executed was brilliant. And I think it's such a self-reflective role for Michael Keaton to take, and like he he plays it like, like we're watching him, and so as a result, I feel like it's just a very personal performance, and it really like started this whole like Keaton resurgence.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, he kind of disappeared for a while now, and now people are like fan casting him in Tiger King and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's a really important film in his career, and it's also like the best performance he's ever given.
Yeah, I said it because I did a lot of public speaking as in church world, and I literally used it as an illustration that Michael Keaton is this guy that I just loved it when he showed up in movies, because when I was doing all this speaking, he wasn't in a lot of movies, and so he would just like show up in the other guys. It would be great in it. But he was like he was like raising his son. I mean, he was like kind of intentionally stepped away from the spotlight. And then he came back with Birdman, where obviously there's connections to his past and everything that he's done before. That just a real neat return to form. And then immediately, I mean, he's in Spider-Man and done a bunch of other stuff where it's just cool to see. And he was in Need for Speed, the classic video game.
Yeah, right.
But it just sorry, I lost my train. I was trying to read, but huge fan of his. Okay, real quick question I'm going to throw up here on the screen. What is your ranking of the 24 seasons? No spoilers. So I have a video where I ranked all of them, and so it's already out there. Season 6 is at the bottom, I believe, and then I think maybe the whatever the 24 Legacies at the bottom, I believe. I wasn't a terribly big fan of that one. And then at the top is season 1 and 5, I think are great. I actually really like season 2. Some people don't like it. I really dug it. Season 6, I think, is the worst one. I think that just really dropped the ball. Did you watch 24?
I did. And I
it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Same. And like, it's crazy because you look back and you're like, oh my God, a 24 episode cable, like, network television show, like how could you ever go back and rewatch it? And like, I don't know, man, they found a way to really keep the intensity and keep you on edge with each episode. And I love the whole concept of it just being like an hour out of a 24-hour day.
Exactly.
With Jack Bauer's
and just keeps that momentum and urgency throughout like the whole deal.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. 24 Legacy was the one with Corey Hawkins,
yes,
right?
They came back about, I believe, 3 years ago. Came back, and it's in continuity. It's still in continuity with the other movie or other seasons.
Okay, because I kind of fell off that one. I wasn't as huge on it, but I really liked. I think I liked season 7 a lot. Season 5 is like the big one that everyone loves.
Of course, yeah.
And then you know what, I'll say it. I actually really didn't hate the last season, the one where he was in London. I thought it was like, even though it was shortened, it actually kind of worked for me. Yeah.
I didn't mind it too much, and I thought it was a little bit better of a closeout than season 8 was. So
I agree.
Okay. With a super chat from Kite, thank you so much for that. Why do you think critics hate The Lion King 2019 while others such as you and I like it? This is actually a great question for Griffin. Griffin, why do critics hate The Lion King?
Well, you can go check out a video I did on the FilmSpeak channel called Why the Lion King Fails. I just don't like it because it's really uninspired, and it's soulless. I think it's a technical achievement. Jon Favreau is really proving himself to be like a James Cameron kind of innovator when it comes to filmmaking. But like the film as a whole, like all you have to do is go watch Mufasa's death in The Lion King, and that's literally the entire reason why I hate the movie, because you can't convey the colors, the emotions, the power of the story in this like photorealistic animal version of it. I'm sorry, just like a lion screaming, like a real lion screaming as he falls to his death does not carry the same weight as like an animated lion with like, expressive features.
It's the inherent problem inside of it of if you want a lion to look like a real lion, it cannot have human emotions. Yeah. And you're trying to tell a very human story that has pride, it has failure, death, tragedy, romance, love. That's why people love it, is because it has so many of these big emotions of the human experience. But if you do it with a realistic tiger, it doesn't work. And that's at the core of it. I haven't rewatched it since the theater. And I mean, like, my wife doesn't want to watch it for all the reasons Griffin has said. And then, I don't know if it would work with my kids. So I haven't even rewatched it. I might, aside of the nostalgia of seeing it on this IMAX screen, actually with Tyler, our good friend Tyler that moved out to California. That was the last movie I saw with him before he moved from Texas to California, was at the Bob Bullock IMAX. It was a very cool experience. And so there's a lot of positive things that were shaped kind of my experience watching it. But I totally get why a lot of people don't like it. All right, here's a quick question that's more for me. YouTube God, will you rank the Saw movies? I have ranked the Saw movies. I already have one on my channel. It's my older style. It's a little bit slower paced. I've actually already rewatched all of them and taken notes. Movie's delayed, or I'm pretty sure it's delayed, but I've already rewatched all of them. Absolutely, I will rank the Saw movies. Actually, a couple channels have talked to me about doing some spoiler reviews on their channel, so there's some stuff that happen related to that. All right, next one on here. Danny K reviews. Screw, Marry, Kill, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman. Okay. Griffin, you want to go first?
Assuming you can, assuming you can kill Superman, like, I don't. I guess you want to screw Batman because, like, he's like the dreamy emo guy, right? Like, I don't think I'd want to be stuck with him. That guy's got a lot of, like, issues, like deep-rooted issues. So probably just like a one-night stand with Batman. Spider-Man is probably like wife material, like he.
Superman or Spider-Man feel like they're solid, good people with good intentions. You can't go wrong with either one of them. You do not want to marry Batman.
No, you definitely don't.
Spider-Man and Superman both want to find a normal life. So
exactly.
But if you got to kill someone, let's kill Spider-Man. He's in the Marvel universe.
Okay, wow.
Was that a bad?
Actually, no, I mean, like, it's a fair point, because then you got to look at villains, right? Like, I feel like Superman will probably be able to protect you. More
exactly. You've got to keep him alive.
Yeah.
And Batman is a mastermind strategist. You got to keep him alive to make everything work.
Spider-Man's just Tom Holland, so that's all. It doesn't even matter. It's fine.
Ghost Band, what's your favorite TV show? I have a video where I have 10 of my favorite TV shows. I don't really like to pick favorites on stuff. That's always going to be my answer on most of these things. I have a video where I had to do it because people are always asking me. But, 24, like we talked about, Batman the Animated Series, Star Trek Next Generation, Daredevil, Breaking Bad. Those are some that immediately come to mind. Griffin, some of your favorites?
Yeah, Lost.
All of the seasons, all the way to the end?
Yeah, I do. I'm one of the people who actually really likes the finale of Lost. I think it fits the series as a whole. So, Lost, Daredevil, Westworld. I know that's like new and it's still on TV, but that thing like grabbed me like by the head and has just never let me go. Like it's become one of my favorite shows.
If you guys like Westworld, he has a Westworld pitch your show to everybody real quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I have a Westworld, like, podcast after show. So if you watch that and you want to hear me go deep into it after each week, then you can head on over to the FilmSpeak channel. Yeah. I saw one in here that was your favorite Bond actor. I don't know if you want to go with that.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's really easy. It's Daniel Craig. But,
Daniel Craig, me too. No question.
I feel like that's just the case with a lot of people. So, he's just completely reinvented the character, and his films are, they're the most interesting. And that's coming from someone who loves about like 90% of the Bond films out there. So,
and we'll throw one out there, The Shield. I love The Shield. Like, if you like kind of that Breaking Bad interwoven stories that goes all the way from the beginning to the end, and it doesn't really skip a beat, The Shield kind of did that 10 years before Breaking Bad. Really, Walton Goggins, Michael Chiklis, very cool show that if you haven't seen The Shield and like stuff like Breaking Bad, you definitely want to check that one out.
That was one of the instrumental TV shows in like developing modern storytelling on like television and stuff like that. It's just it's really good. Yeah, no, I have completely forgot about that.
Seth Green with the super chat. Thank you so much. Would you write a script for a movie, and would you do a ranking of your favorite actors and directors? Okay, that's 3 questions. That's cheating a little bit. Thank you so much for the super chat. Would I write a script for a movie? I would love to write a script for a movie, but it's having one idea that I want to spend months on that maybe no one will ever read or see. That's the holdup. And so on my YouTube channel, I make a how to fix, and 10,000 people watch it. And that's if it's not a big hit. That's if it just does good. I write a script, and I love it. I spend months on it. I could maybe convince Griffin to read the first 10 pages. That's the deal. That's the situation that I need to have something that's going to go somewhere. I'm motivated by progress. And that's why I wouldn't do it. Would I do a ranking of my favorite actors at some point in time? Will I do a ranking of my favorite directors at some point in time? That's kind of the situation. And one kind of thought, I've thought about like maybe doing like some weekend getaway to meet up with some of my YouTube friends and like, let's write a script real quick. Like something like that, and like make it real fun. Just make something real quick. But it's once again, it's one of those things of when I don't know that it's going anywhere, it's tough to get too super pumped about the idea. Have you done any screenwriting? Have you ever thought about writing a screenplay?
Well, but before this whole YouTube thing happened, I was like, my career path lied with like filmmaking. So like I'm not really a script writer. I'm more of like a conceptual, like a story. This is really a terrible analogy because I'm nowhere near as talented as this person. But if you look at like people, filmmakers out there, I'm kind of like the George Lucas kind of person where you have this idea and you have like directions where you want to take stuff in, but like I'm terrible at screenwriting, so like then I work with a screenwriter to do that. I directed like 2 or 3 short films in college as part of just like my undergraduate there, so they might be online somewhere. I don't know, but yeah, I'm more of a director than I am a screenwriter.
And I'm probably more of a writer. I have a lot of ideas, but like the full process of directing, like the idea of directing acting scenes is I have no interest in that. I have interest in like staging action. That's interesting to me and like that stuff. But like working with actors, I'm more of a George Lucas kind of person. And I've done a lot of writing. I've done a lot of scripted stuff because of my time in church world. I've done a couple of different, basically 50-minute little movies that I scripted with like these huge scripts, very crazy. Yeah. I need to share some of this stuff. Like, I did full green screen space battle type stuff, lightsaber battle. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff that was well beyond what I should have been doing. Okay, here's a quick one. What is your favorite MCU film? I have a million videos on this. Infinity War is mine. Griffin, how about what's yours?
If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said Endgame, but I'm probably gonna go with The Winter Soldier. That one it's perfect.
Simple enough. Majestic Demon, what's the best bad Adam Sandler comedy? I mean, I just don't watch any bad Adam Sandler comedies. Like the ones, like all that stuff that, all the ones that fall into the category of bad, I just say they're bad. Maybe Mr. Deeds, but I just enjoyed it enough that I'd be like this. I wouldn't call it bad. Like all that Ridiculous 6 or whatever it was, the Netflix ones, I just don't watch those.
They're just bad.
Like the one that he did is the Murder Mystery. What is it called? Murder Mystery. It's mediocre. I wouldn't call it one of the bad ones. And all this stuff where it's like, that's my boy, and it's like 50-year-old Adam Sandler being like, hey. I just don't have any interest in that. So I just have not watched them. People ask me like, you should do a ranking of all the, like, I just do not want to watch all of that crap.
I mean, you watch enough bad movies as is for these rankings. I can't imagine doing a ranking of literally all bad movies except for like 1 or 2.
Right. And like for me, if I look at like his late 90s stuff, that's the comedies I grew up on. So I could do like a top 5, top 10, but I'm not going to like watch through 10 years of just don't mess with the Zohan. Speed Cola, do you play an instrument? Yeah, I play guitar. If you follow me on Instagram, I occasionally still play like at my church and stuff like that. And I play some clips even on there of me singing a little bit from time to time and some things that I've done. So you can check that out. Griffin, do you play any instruments? I actually don't know that.
Yeah.
Answer this.
Yeah. In high school, well, even like before high school, growing up, I played saxophone all the way through high school, and then I also played drums. And I also sing. So there you go.
Very cool. Jace, favorite with a super chat. Thank you so much. Favorite movie marathon. I guess he means just sitting like binging through a whole marathon of a franchise. I right now I'm really enjoying my annual MCU watches, because a lot of it just because I have kids. And some of it's also because of just how big Infinity War and Endgame were, that it just made them very interesting movies to rewatch. Watching them now with kids, where every year they understand more things and they can watch more of the movies, I think that's been pretty cool. And so they can appreciate all of it more. And they're watching something that is their generation's Star Wars, their generation's Harry Potter. And so that's just cool to be a part of that. What's your favorite marathon?
Yeah, it's really to me, when I choose like my favorite marathon, it's usually the ones that just get me excited to rewatch it again. Just get me really giddy and make me like I remember just sitting at home with my parents, like, on a weekend watching this stuff. And so there's two that come to mind. One is the Indiana Jones trilogy. Yep. Even though it's only 3 movies, you can do that in the course of a weekend. It's just an utter blast. And yes, there are only 3 movies. And then the other one that I actually just recently did, which is it's nothing really comes close to it in my mind, and that's Harry Potter. It just that for me was such a special experience growing up, and so just going back and revisiting it maybe once or twice a year is always a lot of fun.
And one that I've just really enjoyed actually this past weekend, and someday you can do this with your own children, the Human Centipede trilogy. Sat down with my kids, showed it to them, and ate cheesecake while watching Human Centipede, as it should be. Quick one on here, the Marvelite. What did you think of the Batman comics you recently read? So, what he's referring to on Instagram, I kind of shared that I recently read Batman 0 Year, 2 volumes of it. Yeah. I really dug them. I love origin stories, so it's kind of like seeing a new version of the origin story of Batman. Griffin, you've been talking about those on the podcast a lot. So just naturally, that was one to talk about. So I dug them. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Super chat from Nathan Taylor. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Kevin Bacon's movie Hollow Man. Paul Verhoeven's movie Hollow Man. I haven't watched it in a little bit. I've got a soft spot for all of the crazy Paul Verhoeven movies. He just bonkers. He just goes for it. Gleefully, lacking subtlety. Ultra-violent, and so then Hollow Man's kind of the last of them. It came out 20 years ago, which is heartbreaking because it means we're never going to get another one. But so it's The Invisible Man. It's an update on it done by Paul Verhoeven with Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue. I dig it. I really haven't watched it in a while. How about you?
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but basically, if you liked Lee Winnell's The Invisible Man and you want something that's kind of similar, then go watch Hollow Man.
Lacking the nuance and subtlety. I mean, one's all about the subtle details and small things, and then Paul Verhoeven's Hollow Man is the big flashy. But it's some similar sorts of ideas played differently. But man. Mm-hmm. All right, next one on here. Go with a super chat from Andrew Davison. Thank you so much. Love your channel, Sean. What are both of your thoughts on the Disney Plus shows they announced at the D23 Expo last year? So I have a video where actually at the day of said, here's how I rank my excitement for all of the different shows. Some of it I just naturally get excited about a spy show. So I think that works well on TV, so doing Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know what to make of WandaVision because it just seems so weird. I need a real trailer for me to get a hold of it because it just seems so detached from what we've seen before. What's the other ones? Loki.
I don't even care about that.
It just seems like a bad idea to me. When you do that many fake deaths, you burn me out. That so many fake deaths, you just lose your credibility. So even though I love Loki, love Tom Hiddleston, I'm just not excited for it. It feels like one of the It's the MCU version of all these Disney live action remakes. What's a safe bet? It's the MCU version of Solo. It's that. It could be good. It could be enjoyable, as some of the Disney live action remakes are, but it just feels like them playing the safe bet game, and that's really frustrating to me. And then all the ones where it's down the road, like She-Hulk and all that. I don't know how you do She-Hulk on a TV budget. I don't know how that stuff will play out. I'm very excited. Of the TV shows. I don't remember what all the other ones were, but So that's my thoughts on
a lot of announcements.
They announced so many that it starts to feel a little bit like what they do with Star Wars, and they're just announcing so many different things that you start going, I can't get excited because there's 2024 we're going to do this. Well, are you going to do that? I just don't know. That definitely takes away some of the excitement on some of those. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, I'm a huge, like, I got really excited when at Comic-Con when they announced the Hawkeye series, because it looked like it was going to be based off of it was going to be based off the Matt Fraction run, which is one of my favorite comic runs of all time, which if you haven't read it, it is, first of all, the art style is very vintage, and then it's also just like, it's Hawkeye in a post like Avengers world, like the movie Avengers, and it just literally follows his day-to-day life. It's great. And then the other one, I have no idea what to expect, but I've always wanted a Moon Knight series, and so that really excited me when they announced that.
And that's where they're tricky, because it's like, oh, it's cool, we're doing something different, but it just feels so far away. And that to me is the thing that really just kind of makes it so tough. Like, we're going to do Moon Knight. We have no details. We don't have anything, but we're going to do it. Okay, well, maybe all right. This is very early on in Disney Plus, and actually, I mean, it's before Disney Plus launched, and they're like, here's the 10 series we're going to do. Well, maybe we'll see how they go.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've already seen that, like, Hawkeye has had issues and it's, like, been taken off of the lineup indefinitely, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, all right.
Here we go. Here's one we got to talk about. This is a follow-up to last week's podcast where I asked you and John Flickinger what you need to binge. Both of you said Tiger King. So, Mason Davis, have you watched Tiger King? So, after our podcast, I binged the whole thing in one sitting. I didn't think I would. Like, I thought, okay, I'll watch an episode, and then... and I was like, okay, I'll watch the second one. The first one, I was like, these people are so weird. I guess I'll check out another one. And then after the second one, it's like you're hooked. Or you're like, or you go, I hate this. I'm done. I don't think there's any middle spot. You either go, I have to see, where's this going? And then, I mean, they did just such an amazing job of doing the Netflix show where you withhold information until right at the end of an episode, and then you reveal something where it's like, what? What?
Yeah.
And I mean, you go through that thing, and you're like, wait a minute, polygamy plays into this? Wait a minute, this is like a cult? And then you're like, wait a minute, there's a murder investigation? Wait a minute, that guy's a reality TV show? Wait a minute, arson? And you just keep on going and going down wait, he's running for governor? Wait. I mean, just so bonkers that, so fascinating, captivating, and legitimately the type of thing where if you wrote that as a movie, it would be too implausible, but it really happened.
No, I know. I know. It still blows my mind. And apparently, they're coming out with a new episode
that's what
on
I heard,
Friday. That's going to be exciting.
The other thing that I think is interesting in some of this is that most everyone from it, they are just showing up on everywhere you can imagine, except for Carol Baskin. She's the worst. So she's not doing interviews. Everyone else, they are showing up everywhere. Like David Spade has interviewed, I think, everyone except her. And I don't think he's gotten the cult guy, with the cult guy, in Virginia or something like that.
Oh, Doc.
Doc showed up on a bunch of shows too. But he's been on other people's stuff. Like he's still doing interviews too. And so it's absolutely captivating how that's kind of played out. All right.
That guy should be in jail. Like, honestly.
Yes. Okay, here's a fun one. Top 3 horror movies of all time. So I love Scream. I love You're Next. The original Nightmare on Elm Street. I have a video with my top 10. Here's just some off the top of my head. The Conjuring 1 and 2 I really like. It, the first one, I really liked. Those are ones that immediately come to mind for me. How about you, Griffin?
Oh man, that's tough. Scream is definitely one of my all-time favorites. The original Halloween.
Yeah, original Halloween, of course.
Crap. The Ring. The Ring is like one of the first just like terrifying horror viewing experiences I've ever seen. And it's just an excellent movie. I rewatched it recently, and I wish Gore Verbinski would go back to doing films like that because he's such a good filmmaker. And then recently, like Midsommar, like I am absolutely in love with that movie. So Yeah, there's.
I'm not. That's it, and it's designed to be that way. It's knowingly divisive and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of middle ground. You're either like, oh man, this is amazing, or you're like, what on earth is this?
Yeah.
So, all right, next one on here is a super chat. I don't know what to make of this one. Would Alex O'Loughlin be a cool MCU hero? So I'm trying to do a little Google search of him. I guess he's an actor on Hawaii Five-0, just handsome-looking guy. I'm not familiar with his work.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could tell you yes to that one because I just do not know his stuff. I'm looking right now. I just don't know his work. So my mom watches Hawaii Five-0. She watched the original show back when she was dating my dad when they were newlyweds. So then when they did the revamp with Scott Conn, she jumped on board, watches that one along with her NCIS. I've never seen an episode of it. So I'm not familiar with him, unfortunately, so I couldn't tell you if I think that he would be a good fit for that. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah. I mean, like when like the reboot of Hawaii Five-0 first started, I was like, oh, this could be kind of fun, and then I was like, oh, it's just gonna be another like Criminal Minds NCIS type thing. I am not familiar with his work, but just looking at him, he could probably play Frank Castle. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and big, handsome guy with a little bit of a intimidating look to him. That's a Frank Castle. All right, here's one. What's your thoughts on the Paranormal Activity franchise? So, I'll tell you right now, I've only seen the first 30 minutes of the first movie, and I watched that last week because I'm planning to rank them in the near future. Sometime in April, I should rank the Paranormal Activity movies, but I've never seen any of them. So, I started watching one and I started too late, so just like, okay, I guess I'm going to bed. It's 3 a.m. How about you? Have you watched them?
Not recently, but I really like the first 3. After that, I think they become trash, but like the second one especially, I think is like genuinely terrifying. And I remember like when they first came out, they while they're found footage movies, and I think for whatever reason found footage has like a negative connotation around it, like they showed that you can do found footage in a really effective and creative way. And so I like the first 3, like I said, but those first 2 especially I really dig. Yeah.
Okay. With a super chat from Mr. Sato. Thank you so much. Can you rank the Arkham games, and do you like V for Vendetta? So, I've only watched V for Vendetta once. It was like 10 years ago. I enjoyed it enough. I just haven't rewatched it. I will rewatch at some point in time this year because I'm hoping to rank all of the DC movies if Wonder Woman ever comes out. So I just can't give you any big, deep thoughts on it. Rank the Arkham games. Arkham Knight's at the bottom for me. I don't like the Batmobile tank stuff at all, and so it just sours the game for me. I think Arkham City's the best, then probably Origins, then the first one. The first one I think is a little bit too confined, and then when it becomes a big city, I like it, and then when it gets such a big city that you need a Batmobile, kind of kills it for me. But people ask me all the time to make a video out of that. I would feel dishonest making that video right now because I played Arkham Asylum whenever it came out, 9 years ago. I played Arkham City more kind of consistently throughout the years because I enjoy being in the world. Played Origins about 3 years ago, I think, and Arkham Knight about a year ago. How about you? You played the games? Or I guess you clearly had an opinion when I said that. So,
yeah, no, for sure. I'll just get this out of the way. I don't think there's a single bad Arkham game. Like even Arkham Knight, I don't even think there's anything wrong with it. And I like that game more than most people. But for me, Arkham City's the best, easily. And then Arkham Origins, because I really liked. Even though it was like made by a different studio, I think I really dug the direction they were taking it, and like the whole Christmas theme, and like all these assassins coming after him. And Troy Baker as the Joker was great. It was awesome to hear him in that. And then it goes Arkham Knight and then Arkham Asylum. For me, it's just Asylum, while it was a great introductory and it started something incredible, like you said, it's just too confined. And I don't think I like the story as much as I like the stories in the other games. Well,
it's like it's a great game engine that immediately makes you go, "Why just want the whole city? Your engine works. You did it. So let's go to the city." hence the sequel. And you go, okay, here you go, bam. This is a great way to build off something that really works. Okay, next one on here. This is probably a better question for you than me. Which movie do you think should have won Best Picture 2019? For me, I don't think that way. I'm this guy. I'm the franchise guy. I'm the big dumb movie guy. I'm very good at, I think, speaking in a way that I think resonates with the masses about very popular films. And I can feel a little bit out of my depth and playing above my pay grade when it gets into like Best Picture stuff. And I'm just not as... That's not exactly where my passions are at right now. And even the way I'm wired, I tend to be more of a favorite than best. And so I see it a little bit differently. I mean, I'm just not... There are people that are just very passionate. This is the best. I'm just not like that at all. Like, I am not that person. And so it's not that I'm just trying to play coy or play both. I'm not... I just don't think that way. I don't have that thought. I have to actively try and... You're asking a question, so I'd come up with... So I really don't have an answer. I believe my top 10 last year, I had Ford versus Ferrari at number 1. Or if I was trying to like balance the enjoyment plus prestige, Ford versus Ferrari is the one that I would pick. But, that's a dad movie about cars with great acting. With Batman and Jason Bourne, so I'm biased. You're much more in that zone. Like, you are the guy that like that's your thing. How about what's your answer?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think the right movie probably won. Like, you talk to like 20 people, I don't think you'll find a single person who has anything negative to say about Parasite, which is more than you can say for pretty much every other film on that list. Yeah, well, Robert Storms, man, has got some serious issues that he probably needs to sort out. So that's all I'll say about that.
He watched it. He did watch the movie after he went viral with his little rant. And I think it was positive towards it, I remember.
Oh, good.
So he did eventually actually watch it. He just ranted. And, of course, as we mentioned before, I'm not going to badmouth him or anything like that. I'm Facebook friends with him. I've actually been messaging back and forth a little bit. But he did go viral with an epic rant after it won that was... It was pretty funny, probably ill-advised, but so you go with Parasite?
Yeah, I mean, like, what did I want to win? 1917, obviously.
And I was thinking, I was like...
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I'm not going to complain that Parasite won, but, like, I think 1917 kind of was, like, the whole package for me. But then you get into what Sean's saying. It's like you get into best versus favorite. And so... I don't know. I like Parasite, The Irishman, or 1917. I would have been thrilled if either of those films won. And one of them did. So. And
here's the deal with Parasite that my buddy Rachel Wagner said on Twitter. It's a movie that critics love, and everyone that's seen it loves it. It's very much has prestige elements, social commentary, but it's also just an enjoyable film. Yeah. And that's what I liked about this year's nominees is that you looked at it. And they're movies that normal people could connect with. That, like, they're just entertaining films and very well made. And I think over the last few years, there's been a few that have been, I think, kind of distant. And that I didn't feel like that was the case this year. Okay. Next one on here. Jace with the Super Chat. Thank you so much. Who is the best Chris? We are in an era where people my age are now the leading men of Hollywood and the leading men of the MCU. And when it comes to people that are in my age bracket, every other person that's a peer of mine is named Chris. And that's not just these movie stars. That was at my high school. My brother-in-law is named Chris. The guy that sang at my wedding is named Chris. There's so many Chris's that are about my age. Who is the best one of our kind of current actors that are Chris's? I kind of like all of them quite a bit. I think it's a really good set of Chris's. So I don't have a good way to answer. Do you have a strong opinion on your favorite Chris or your least favorite Chris?
Oh, I don't have a least favorite, but I think Chris Evans is definitely the best one. I think he's shown himself to be, people might disagree with this, but I think he's shown himself to be proven talent in front of the camera and behind the camera. He directed a little like romantic like Night on the Town movie called like Before We Go or something like that. Not a lot of people saw it. not a lot of people really dug it, but I think it showed promise. And then like I think what he's kind of done using his Twitter as like a platform to like give his voice to like underrepresented voices, and then also kind of talk about balancing the polar opposite ends of politics into like this middle ground. Like, I mean, it's the whole like point of his like new political venture that he's going on, this project, which I believe is called The Middle Ground. And so he literally is the embodiment of Captain America, and like I kind of just have to applaud that.
And to go down on that, to affirm that, one of my former students was in the military overseas, and Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson went to go visit the base. And met both of them, and they were legit just walking around, shaking hands, just doing everything they could to honor our armed forces and just do good work. And I mean, he very much holds himself like Steve Rogers in a lot of the stuff that he puts out there. And it's funny to me because my introduction to him was Not Another Teen Movie, which is a super raunchy movie. So that's always in the back of my mind when any of that stuff kind of comes up. But I really like all of them. I really do. And even all of them have ties to characters that I think I really like, and have moments that are really powerful for me. Even Pine with Star Trek and as Captain Kirk. My handle on Twitter's Kirk Never Died. He's Captain Kirk. And then there's a lot of things about Chris Pratt. Just such a cool story of this guy that was just the fat side character on a TV show, and then becomes like this leading man over like 2014 happens, and that's just such a cool story. And then that he comes off like a very normal person on the internet that apologizes for things, and even the stuff where people don't like him for things he's done, they're like really weird reasons, and they're very normal person type. Like he did something normal, and they're like, "What? You did this?" And it's like, I'm in Central Tech. Like he likes to go hunting. It's like, how dare you go hunting? It's like, I mean, if I were to, I don't go hunting. I'm too much of an animal. I couldn't imagine killing an animal, but. I'm in Central Texas. Everyone I know owns a big truck. They have a gun rack in their truck and they go hunting. And so it just seems like such a normal guy. So I think they're all pretty great. Here's one. Dominic, favorite Star Wars character. I love Luke. I love Luke's little arc of farm boy to savior of the universe to broken mentor to making a little bit of a turnaround on some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably go Obi-Wan. I as much as people don't like the prequels, I think it really like kind of helped his character.
Yeah.
And then especially what they do in the Clone Wars series, I think it really bolsters his character even more. Kind of shows different sides to him. It shows him like in a relationship basically, and so he just with each like kind of like piece of Star Wars like canon that we get that involves Obi-Wan, he just becomes a more interesting person. So I love him. I've
been crazy critical of Star Wars keeping going back to that between episode 3 and 4 window way too much. Extremely critical of it. And the one thing that I think is a project that makes sense to do that is Obi-Wan, because you have an actor that went unscathed through 3 prequels. Nobody holds the prequels against him, and they think he's a high point. And then you have 20 years where you're going, what was he doing? And now he's, he's 15 years older than he was. So it's like, he's a guy that's about 50 years old. And so I think you can just do something really cool. Like that's the one where it's like, that's my exception to everything I've been complaining about. And that's like complain about. They're like, oh, we're doing an Obi-Wan series. Like, oh, perfect. I was like, okay, a little bit of a hypocrite, but I think he is the exception there. All right, next one here with a super chat. Thank you so much. Favorite DC villain, superhero, and Marvel. That's kind of 4 questions, so we'll go pretty quick on this. Favorite DC villain.
Are we talking like in general or in a movie?
It doesn't clarify, so you can go wherever you want with it. I'll go with. Okay. I think I'll say a Lex Luthor. I love kind of that mastermind that's loved by the public. Heroes tied Batman, Superman. They're the 2 archetypes. One is the human that uses all of his skills to his best. Superman is the god on Earth who could dominate us but chooses to use his powers for good. On the Marvel side, I'm not as strong of an opinion there. I like the good old boy of Captain America a good bit. Favorite villain? I don't have one that immediately comes to mind. How about you?
Yeah, no, for sure. DC villain, the Joker. I mean, it's really just hard to top someone like that. But it's kind of like a little bit of an outside pick. I think Mr. Freeze, when done right, is really interesting.
They revamped him with Batman the Animated Series because he was just, I'm Iceman that shoots ice. And then they did Heart of Ice on Batman the Animated Series, and they revamped the character. The whole backstory of his wife being sick, and then he's lost his emotions. That's all from Batman the Animated Series. And even, people make fun of Arnold Schwarzenegger as him. That's Joel Schumacher's problem. That Joel Schumacher wanted to make a campy movie. They actually did the Batman the Animated Series backstory, so it's very emotional what's even in Batman. But yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, Marvel. No, for sure. In terms of the heroes, I mean, Batman, yes, but I'll niche that down even more. I really like Terry McGinnis as Batman and Batman Beyond. That's my favorite incarnation of Batman, and I would kill for a live action adaptation of that. On the Marvel side, favorite hero is Daredevil. Favorite villain is Mysterio.
Oh, very cool. Next one, real quick super chat that was for me. We kind of actually covered this. Will you do a How to Fix Attack of the Clones? Yes, that is planned. Probably about 3 weeks from now. Next week, Mondays, I'm trying to do Marvel videos. Next week, I believe, is going to be How to Fix Iron Man 2. And then a week and a half, 2 weeks after that, I believe I'll do Attack of the Clones. I honestly, but 10 years before I had my YouTube channel, I started writing notes about how I would fix the prequels, blog posts and stuff that it never went out. And so I've been thinking about this a long time. So now it's a project that it's a passion project. That's why I'm doing it. And they're not necessarily like the biggest hit videos on my channel, but they're ones that the people that are passionate about them are very passionate about them. And they're pretty fun to do. Someone's asking me, who do you think you should cast in the new X-Men movies in the MCU? I have a video on my channel where I already did a fan cast of the X-Men, so you can look that up. I did Fantastic Four and the X-Men. I might do a second one with the X-Men with more characters, but I don't want to spend time in here when I have a video already about that one. Do you have any specific fan casts you would do with the X-Men?
God, not that I can think of on the top of my head. I know I saw this somewhere, like there was like a Magneto and a Professor X casting that I really dug, but I can't think of it right now. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to pass on that one.
Okay. Yeah, those are always tough. Sometimes people off the top of my head, who would you cast in this? It's really tough to come up with an actor for a part most of the time. There's a few cases where I think there's some ones that there's just enough chatter right off the bat where, like after The Purge 2, everyone was like, Frank Grillo could make a good Punisher. It was obvious because he's wearing a trench coat, shooting people with guns, and he just looks intense. But most of the time it's tough to come up with them. That's a good inspired pick. All right, another super chat. I guess this one's probably for me. Do you plan to review the Netflix movie Extraction? So this is a new Chris Hemsworth movie. That might be the next review I do on my do on my channel. Since we don't have new movies coming out, I don't think I'm going to pay $20 to review Trolls 2. That doesn't seem like something that would be enjoyable, especially right now where ad revenue is way down. That's not my niche. I would literally be losing money in order to review a movie I'm not excited about. That seems like a silly thing to do. But Extraction, I think I'm going to.
Well, and actually, I wanted to talk to you about, maybe this isn't the right place to mention it, but maybe we should try and reach out to the people involved with that film, see if we can get someone on the podcast.
It may be. Come to think about it, that's entirely possible. So let's kind of look into that. I always have to think, like, now I have to rethink things because it's like you actually have connections to do stuff, or actually you know how to do this stuff that I don't know how to do. So that'd be pretty cool. But I saw Chris Hemsworth doing something where he shoots a gun, and I was like, all right, I think I'm going to review that. It's pretty much my entire decision-making matrix right there.
Yeah, and it's like written by one of the Russo brothers. So
that's right. Russos are producing it. That's right. So absolutely. I'd forgotten that. This is the problem with the Netflix model not in the model. The way they do things, they don't promote their stuff. They crank so much stuff out that you have a Chris Hemsworth movie with the Russos producing it. We should be talking about that more. We should have more trailers where we should be seeing more about it. But it's more kind of like you see it and you go, that's cool, and then you don't hear anything about it for a while. So, like, I forgot that it's a Russos are involved. But I plan to answer yes or no to your question. Yes, I do plan to do that. Next one. Here is a tough question from Ryan Clark. Do you prefer Tarantino or Nolan?
Yeah, I mean, that's easy for me. Christopher Nolan. I just think he's more original. Like, listen, that's not taking anything away from Tarantino. Tarantino is just very indebted to his influences, where I think Nolan is just wholeheartedly original, his own person / brand, and I just enjoy his projects more than I do Tarantino's.
It's tough for me because both of them were kind of pivotal in my learning to love movies beyond just blockbusters. Tarantino all throughout the 90s, late 90s was just kind of the indie darling. Yeah. So that's, of course, a huge piece. And then Nolan's first movie that got some distribution, and Memento, came out right as I was really discovering that stuff. And so I was an early adopter of Nolan and evangelist telling people about him and everything. And so both of them huge for me. If I here's the decision-making matrix I'll use. If I'm on an island and I only get Tarantino movies or Nolan movies, I'm taking the Nolan movies. That's but that's the way I'm having to decide this one. Martin is saying watch Platform on Netflix. I watched Platform at Fantastic Fest last September. I talked about it in my video last week where I ranked all the movies from the first section of the year. So I've already talked about it on my channel. Did you happen to watch Platform yet?
I haven't yet. I had heard pretty good things about it. I'm sure I'll catch it eventually, but I just I haven't had a desire to really watch it as of late.
Yeah, it's a nice little bottle film that has stuff to say, nice contained story that pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool what they were able to do with it. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We are doing a little test here. Basically, we're trying to experiment to see if we can do a live podcast in a few days. I'm using some new software where I can actually put your comments up on the screen. So I'm learning as I go, figuring all of this stuff out. Trying to that's what's kind of going on here. Thank you guys so much. It has been a lot of fun. Ian Sullivan with an important question. How old are you? I mention it all the time. I'm 38. Some people think I look younger because I do very childish things. But you can see it on the side of my head. I'm wearing like a silly Thanos shirt. Toys behind me. But you can see it on the side of my head. There's a lot of gray right here. I'm especially now that we got quarantine beard kind of growing out, where everything is can't go get my hair cut. You can see all the Reed Richards going on. This all up here, this is actually pretty solid color, but the sides, the beard right here, it's just there's a lot of age in there. I'm 38. How old are you again, Griffin? We've talked about this a little bit earlier, but
yeah, I'm gonna be 25 this year. Yeah. But I'm currently 24.
I'm older than him by a good...
Significantly older.
All right, this is one we've actually been getting this question all throughout the whole deal. I'm writing an episode of The Mandalorian for my class. Any suggestions? So, someone's writing... I guess straight into a spec script. I guess for a screenwriting class, creative writing class. Any suggestions for what to do? I think you have to focus in on just... not trying to throw everything you want in there. You have to try to make sure that you're not cramming every Easter egg in there, but you're picking one simple story. Especially with The Mandalorian, it's heavily, blatantly influenced by Westerns. These simple stories. And you can go through most every episode of the first season, and you can find a Western that it's following the template of that film. And so that's what I would recommend doing. Find the Western template, the John Carpenter movie template that they haven't done yet, and follow that. And you want to put a little bit of Star Wars universe in it, so put it on a planet that we haven't been to yet on the show. And so you get a little bit of like, he's going to... This might even be fun. You send him to Naboo, because we haven't been to Naboo live action in a long time.
Yeah,
we know what it looks like. And they didn't do it at all in the sequels. So you go back to Naboo, and he feels so out of place that it's interesting. That, It's not necessarily but think that way. That it makes it so that why is he going to this place? Why was he going there? That's kind of my quick recommendation for what I would do. For something like that, what would you do if you were able to make an episode? It's also tough because it's 50% serialized, 50% standalone episodes. It's kind of the formula they used for season 1, so it's also tough when you don't know exactly what the next season is. But what would that quick tip that you would give me?
My quick tip would just be to focus on writing a good story and focus less on cramming in references or Easter eggs. Kind of like what you said. To what Sean said, if there's a specific Western that calls out to you that you really like say you're a big fan of John Ford's The Searchers, maybe try and use that as like a template to craft a singular episode where you can kind of do a spin on The Searchers. That could be really interesting. Use the resources at your disposal, but like don't only use them if it makes sense for the stories, right? So like don't just have Ahsoka pop in there for the sake of having Ahsoka pop in there. Like if Ahsoka needs to be in there for the story to like progress or for the character to learn something or whatever, then consider integrating her into it. It's all about necessity and creating an impactful and powerful story. And if you want it to span across like 3 episodes, plot that arc out. If you want it to be just one individual self-contained episode, make sure that it doesn't go over like the 45-minute runtime that like an episode takes. Yeah.
Okay, you gotta do a couple of these real quick. GamerGirl asks, will you do a How to Fix Justice League or Suicide Squad? Ironically, I already have. The 2 you just mentioned are the first 2 I ever did. Very early on my channel, right after Suicide Squad came out, I did a How to Fix Suicide Squad. So it'll be different from the way I do things now, but it exists. And then a month after Justice League, I did a How to Fix Justice League. So once the stream is over, you have something you can go and watch and have fun with. Next one, a couple people asking this question. I wonder if I can put 2 of these on here. No, I can't. I can only put 1 up at a time. But how did you meet Griffin? I don't remember the exact moment, but it was just from YouTube.
Yeah.
Around the same time we started, and so you're just trying to build community, just trying to meet the other YouTubers that were out there. And he had a channel called Men vs. Movies and also a website related to that. So summer 2017, like the part where I like really started to know him, remember him, is started writing some for his website and interacting quite a bit with him there. And do you remember the specific first interaction between the 2 of us or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember like the first interaction. I mean, like like you do, and like we all did. Like, I mean, you would pop into the comment section and be like offer some like actual like thoughtful comment that wasn't just like, hey man, sick video, go check out my video on the same thing on this channel. Like, it was a little bit more like you were actually interested in having a conversation. And so like, we got, I don't know, you do those a little bit back and forth. You find people on social media, you message, you're like, hey, you want to do a collab? Love? Okay, sure, whatever. But I think we probably collabed for the first time on like a Ryan O'Toole video or something like that, like a Rotten or Fresh. That's I'm gonna assume it was something like that, but yeah, and then I asked if you wanted to like write some stuff for the website, and you did some really good editorials. You did one on like Terminator, I think, or maybe like the mid-budget action movie, and then there was like another one that you did that was really good, but yeah, no, and then from there it's just we're just friends.
It was just started, and that kind of the writing, we started having kind of like weekly little Facebook meetings where we talk a little bit. Yeah. So it's just a little bit. I know a ton of people and collaborate with a ton of people, but when there's something weekly that makes a little bit of that extra thing to get to know someone. So then jump into 2018. Both of us were kind of starting to think. I think this is like a career direction. You're looking to move to California. I'm looking to go full-time YouTube. So we just had a lot of those conversations, kind of giving each other guidance. And then you came out a year ago for South by Southwest. We got to meet, and then I went out to California at the end of last year, got to meet. And then as I was prepping to do a podcast, just you were looking for something, opportunities you had. It just seemed like the perfect merger. So that's kind of the story of how we met. All right. A super chat from Nathan Albers. This guy I know in real life. I've known a long time. His dad was actually a mentor to me, huge and largely important in my life, and then he's been a great friend to me. And so one of my former students. One of the fun things about working with teenagers for years is that they just get to become your friends at a certain point in time. So that was a lot of fun. So he's one of those people that has come over to my house for dozens and dozens of movie nights. Like I introduced him to Predator movies, Rocky movies, like so many movies that I've introduced him to over the years. So I know him really, really, really well. But anyway, his question, Nathan, are there any movies that is a favorite for one of you, but the other one can't stand? So like one we kind of touched on a little bit, Midsummer. Nathan, if you haven't happened to watch it, Andy King for about a year. Actually, a lot of you guys know Andy King because he's been on my channel. Andy King for a year was raving about because he read the script for Midsummer. Then I watched Hereditary for the first time with Andy in my house. It was hilarious because he like legit reacts when something scary happens, and I'm like unfazed by anything. And so I'm just watching him. And my wife was in the room, not really watching but working, and she just happened to look up during the scene after the party where they're driving home with the sick girl. And so that's the one moment she looks up and she's like, what are you guys watching? So I didn't like Midsummer. I just too weird for me, too off. Griffin was raving about how amazing it is. I respect a lot of things, but like, I think that's, I'm not crazy about Hereditary either, that I really get him as his talents as a director. The stories he's interested in telling, I'm not interested in. That's kind of the thing. That like if he did something that was more aligned with what I enjoy, I'd connect with it more. That's what immediately comes to mind. Can you think of some other ones?
I don't. That were like on the polar opposite on. I mean, usually I think when that happens, it's like you said, it's usually on the more independent films or like the prestige movies or whatever, where it's like you're not really like interested in that, and you're just like, oh yeah, it was cool, I appreciate it, but it's not something that I really care to go rewatch. It's like me, it's like I eat that stuff up.
Like it's like I'll be like I respect The Lighthouse. That's not a movie I'd look to rewatch.
That's
that sort of thing. And then I'll be more forgiving of Rise of Skywalker. And everything you'll say about criticisms, I'll be like, man, you're right. I just doesn't change that I had fun with it. It's that sort of thing. That's kind of more where we kind of tend to have our differences is that, I'm very much kind of in this. I just want to be entertained. Like that's just where I'm naturally, and I can respect it, and I actively put myself to watch movies that I don't easily gravitate towards, and I think that's good for me. Whereas that's kind of a little bit more where you're naturally wired to head towards. All right, here's one that it'll be fun for you. Adopted Lobster, Dalton or Brosnan, License or Goldeneye. Those are two very different questions. Because for me, Goldeneye or License, I really like both of those movies. But Goldeneye, I think Goldeneye is kind of like just this real high point for Brosnan. If I'm just going between Dalton and Brosnan, though, I think I would go Dalton because I think Brosnan just had too much camp, and we get out of Goldeneye, and I think Tomorrow Never Dies, but those latter two I think just go so far into the stuff that is too goofy. And I like the serious Dalton.
Yeah, if we're talking just about like who is arguably the most accurate, who has the most. Who portrays James Bond the most accurately, like based off of the novel, it's Timothy Dalton. And that's just because he is theatrically trained. He went deep into the novels. He wanted to bring that character from the pages to life. And that's why his movies are really Sean Connery had an edge to him, but like the Dalton movies are really the films that like kind of formed the template for what Daniel Craig would become. So I would probably go Timothy Dalton as well, although I absolutely love Brosnan, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he did. He brings a lot of charisma, effortless, like suave and cool. It's like I love his portrayal of James Bond. I just think the movies he was in were a little inconsistent. But when it's the
movies that I think were the problem.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, you can kind of plot a trajectory with each film. Pierce Brosnan like like delivers a better performance than the last one. Like I would say Die Another Day is probably his best portrayal as the character, even though it's easily the worst movie he was in. So it was really just unfair for him. But in terms of GoldenEye or License to Kill, I probably would go GoldenEye, just because of what. Like I just love that movie. It's just one of the quintessential Bond films. It really just kind of like rebooted the character before it like went to hell again with the rest of the Brosnan films. But I actually, not to go on too much of a tangent here, but Timothy Dalton was originally supposed to be in GoldenEye, and I would have loved to have seen that, because I think that film is more closely related to the previous two movies, like License to Kill and The Living Daylights, than it is the other Brosnan films. So I would have liked to have seen that film, even though I think Pierce Brosnan is great in GoldenEye.
All right. Here's a super chat from Luca. Can you guys get Stuckman on the podcast sometime? So can I don't know, because what I'm not willing to do is fly Griffin out to wherever Stuckman lives with some duct tape in Ohio. I'm not willing to do that because of what's going on in the world. It's not safe to travel. That's really the only reason I can't fly Griffin out to kidnap Stuckman. I can't force him to be on the podcast. So what I can tell you is that I messaged him back in December about. It wasn't the podcast. I hadn't launched it yet, so I couldn't really pitch it that way. But I messaged him about coming on my channel to interview him. And he basically said, yes, but not now because I'm just too busy. I'm prepping a movie, so I'm turning everybody down. If you can message me in a few months, in March, then we'll probably, let's schedule something. So I didn't message him in March because the world kind of went bonkers. And then the stuff with Flickinger was coming through, so I wanted to wait until the Flickinger thing worked, then message Stuckman. So in case he had a little bit cold feet or something like that, be like, hey, but it's got Flickinger on and it went well. That's literally on my calendar, written in my calendar for tomorrow, is I'm going to message him. That's literally tomorrow. I will be messaging him about having him on the podcast. So not only is it a possibility? Yes, it's something I'm working on literally tomorrow. Here's one I don't have a question I don't have a good answer to. Raul, is the new Batman 2021 in the DCU? I hope it is. I don't know. Like, it says it on the Wikipedia page. It's not. They haven't said it's not. But do I want a movie where everyone is recast? And these guys are not one-to-one comparisons. Like when you're talking about from Scar to Andy Serkis, this is a big change. When you're going from J.K. Simmons to Jeffrey Rush, this is a big change. These are not the same vibe. When you go from Ben Affleck to Robert Pattinson, they're not one-to-one. Very much, this feels like this is a different continuity. This is like, and you look at Batmobiles. These are very different Batmobiles. So, if this is meant to be a prequel to Batfleck so that it can be in the DCEU, that feels like too big of a shift. So I don't know. I don't know that I want that for that reason. That I want him to be able to tell his own story. I don't want him to feel like he has to line up with the information that Zack Snyder told us. I want Matt Reeves to tell his own story. As much as I very much want a Batman in the DCEU, they seem to be having a lot more success with little standalone stories. Maybe what they're going to do is more the X-Men universe thing, where it's like, yeah, these are together, kind of. Like when it's convenient, they are.
Yeah, I don't think that's really going to be the case. I think they're trying to just remove the Snyderverse from the DCEU, which luckily I think they can pretty easily. But no, I think this Matt Reeves Batman is going to be entirely its own thing. It's going to be in its own continuity. I don't even know if it's going to tie into the rest of the DC films. I think they're just letting Matt Reeves make the trilogy or whatever that he wants to make. So, and I kind of hope that's the case. I don't want it to tie into the other films. I'm kind of, I'll say it. I'm kind of sick of the like connected universe thing. I like going to the DC films and like having an individual film like Joker, like having an individual film like Aquaman or whatever. And these Batman movies, I really hope it kind of follows that model that they're going forward with.
I'm a little torn because, Burton universe, just Batman. Nolan universe, just Batman. Snyderverse, he's only guy in team-up movies, only team-up movies, and now we're back to just by himself. That's what the big loss that I feel. I just, especially because we lost Ben Affleck's The Batman. We never got that movie. So we never got, and I've pitched it before, but I would have loved if we could have done a pre-Batman v Superman, The Batman post-credit scene is that opener to Batman v Superman. That's the post-credit scene. Bruce Wayne running in and seeing his building destroyed. Cliffhanger. Batman v Superman comes. I think that just so cool. And we never got to see him, just him. So that's the loss that I feel.
That is,
Here's a quick one that we'll do. Let's do this quick one. What cartoons are essential to your childhood? Ninja Turtles, Batman the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, G.I. Joe, I'm that era. There's like this whole lineup of Disney shows like Tailspin, Darkwing Duck were huge. Animaniacs, huge. So those are the ones that immediately come to mind. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, DuckTales.
Yeah. I think for me, it's most of the Nickelodeon shows. SpongeBob is by far my favorite animated show to have ever existed. The first 3 seasons, because after that, it just doesn't recapture the same magic. Fairly Odd Parents, great. Danny Phantom, great. I got into like some of those like Jetix or like WB Kids shows, like Jackie Chan Adventures. What the heck was it? Like Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I watched a lot of those shows growing up, but oh man, there was another one that I really liked. Well, I mean, I love Looney Tunes, and then dang it, I'm forgetting one that like that was big for me, but I whatever, it doesn't matter. But SpongeBob is basically the
So you must be pumped about the movie coming out.
I actually am, yeah.
I've never watched SpongeBob, so I have no connection to it. So people are like, what do you think about SpongeBob? I don't think about SpongeBob. Next question with a super chat from Zane TV. And we're going to close out pretty soon. We've actually been going like an hour and a half now. This is actually, it's turned out it's worked. This little plan of ours worked, and I'm figuring out the technology. And as best I can tell, no one's commenting it that I can see about it being glitching or anything like that. So our little new software deal, it actually appears to be working. We'll be coming back in a few days for a live podcast. That's the plan. Let's do a live podcast. We'll do our podcast show, probably do a couple questions in there, get a little bit of your feedback on what's going on. But that's what this little experiment was for. We'll close out and take a few more questions. So if you really want us to answer something, send us that super chat. One quick plug for my Patreon. Every weekend I do a live stream exclusive for them. It's about an hour long. I can take everybody's questions. So if you enjoy this but wish it was only 10 people, maybe join any level at Patreon and you can be a part of that live stream. We got a super chat from Zane TV. Have either of you seen Dragon Ball Z? If not, would you consider it? Griffin, have you seen it?
No, and I would not consider it. I've heard it's terrible. So. Oh, wait, are you talking about the show or the movie? Because like the show, I'd probably consider it after I got through the million other things to watch. And I actually think I watched a little bit of it growing up. But if we're talking about the movie, absolutely not. No way.
So I haven't watched any Dragon Ball Z, really. I mean, little clips here and there. But so I haven't followed any of it. Everything I've seen about it just seems like it's not the right show for me. And then the movie I've just heard is terrible. So it's like also, and it's terrible. And since I'm not familiar with the source material, I can't even watch it and appreciate how bad it is. So it's not something that I would ever be looking to check out. The TV show, I'm probably just not the right person for it. Unfortunately. So I don't mean to shoot down on it, but I'm probably not the target audience for it. All right. Which movie are you more excited for, Thor 4 or Black Widow? For me, at this moment in time, probably Thor, just because of the Guardians connection. Want to see how where that all plays out. A Thor movie with Guardians and his kind of new phase in life. Christian Bale's in it. Black Widow, it's a movie that there's a certain frustration that it's coming out now and not 4 years ago. I'm excited to see a spy movie. It looks like something I'll really enjoy, all of that. But Christian Bale in the MCU, all that stuff. It just seems like something a little bit more interesting to me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, Black Widow is just exactly what I want from that movie. It's like my favorite subgenre. I love spy action films, and I've actually really dug the trailers so far, and like the tone and the aesthetic and everything. And Taskmaster looks like he'll probably be one of the best like MCU villains. So like, I surprisingly will go with Black Widow because I actually wasn't a big fan of Thor Ragnarok. I think that film has a lot of issues that people tend to overlook. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think with Taika Waititi writing and directing Thor 4 definitely makes me more optimistic about that because he did not write Thor 3. So Thor 4 might end up being better. But as of right now, Black Widow, I'm definitely more excited for.
GamerGirl, which movie or TV show do you think will be hurt the most due to being delayed? Hurt the most. It's. I mean, tough to quantify. Hurt the most. I think like a lot of these cable TV shows, Netflix shows probably won't be affected too much. Like there might be a shift in date, but they're written in a way that it's like one contained unit. They're all written, all shot, put out. I think network television is going to have a very big disruption where they're doing these 24-episode seasons. They were planning something, and then in the middle of it, there's a break. That's normally not good for TV shows. When there's writer strikes and stuff like that, it hurts quite a bit. Which movies do I think will be hurt the most? I think that movies because it's a self-contained script. Like there's delays, but I don't think they'll be hurt. I think TV shows you can have a break in the middle of a creative run that hurts things. But a film, it just gets delayed, so I don't think they would be hurt per se. What would be your take on that one?
I'll say the animated family movies I think might hurt the most.
Yeah.
Like, I think a film like Scoob, which was in a really good like beginning of the summer opening slot, I think that film's gonna really suffer. So they might end up dropping that on like HBO Max. I have no idea, but like that to me feels like a film that'll suffer. And then also probably the SpongeBob movie too. It's opening up in July, but I have a feeling it might get delayed again. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right. I mean, I think all the movies right now in this window that were like, Trolls 2 and stuff like that just kind of really, you reschedule it or you just drop it on streaming. I think those ones kind of take a really big, get hurt the most by some of this stuff. And I think, Scoob just is a really tough because it seemed really primed for a good moment with summer and everything. But here's one. Tony the movie. How do you guys feel about Birds of Prey bombing at the box office? It didn't bomb at the box office. I'll just reject that aspect of the question. I'll talk about that in a second. Do you think this will affect DC making R-rated movies and a Harley Quinn sequel as well? No. So first off, I think that the question I think is just wrong. And not to be mean to you. There's a ton of people out there that are just having fun. It bombed! They're just using this escalated language that is just... The King Arthur movie that came out 2 years ago, whatever, cost like $175 million, and it opened to $15 million. Mm-hmm. That's when you're talking a bomb. There's no way that you can recover from that, and so you're going to lose a lot of money because there's such a huge gap between what the movie cost and what it made. That's a bomb. Birds of Prey cost $85 million and opened at $33 million, and then went on to globally make like $200 million. So is it profitable? That's questionable. Because it's the formula is normally like triple the production budget because of the marketing, because of the cut that movie theaters take. So you triple it, and then you can say you're profitable. It's not really quite there, I don't think. It's right at the line. So profitable, maybe not. But it's also a movie where clearly they knew they made a lot of mistakes with the marketing and the title. How many times ever have they retitled a movie while it's in the theater? And they did some of that stuff with Edge of Tomorrow with video, but they literally, if you went to go see Birds of Prey opening weekend, the little graphic above the theater said Birds of Prey, and if you went a week later, it said Harley Quinn. And they try to like, oh no, it's just to simplify things for like, no, come on, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. You changed the title to try and get more people to buy tickets because they know Harley Quinn, they don't know Birds of Prey. They know that they made some big mistakes, but it got really good reviews, and the people who did see it liked it. So they'll certainly be cautious. They will certainly change their game plan. I don't think it's out of question that, I don't know what happened. Wait, anyway, that's my long answer to all that. Wait, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I also reject that. I don't think it was a bomb at all. I think it actually made a really decent amount of money, and people love it. And I think Kathy Yan is even working on a sequel with like Harley and Poison Ivy. So like they're gonna make another one. There is a market for R-rated superhero films like this, and if they weren't to go ahead with a sequel, I think that they would get the wrong message from this whole thing. So like they just,
which studios are known for doing.
Yeah, right, and Warner Brothers especially. But I think they have kind of emerged from this whole thing a little bit like wiser as a result. At least I would hope. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they learn to market better, maybe title better and whatnot, and just move forward. Let Kathy Yan make another movie. And it'll be a lot of fun. Like I just don't understand why people who are saying it bombed were like wanting it to fail.
There's an agenda there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. There's an agenda there. There's an incredibly dumb bias and agenda against this film as a whole, and I just reject that the movie is bad and that the movie failed on any sort of level. It did what it should have.
I think you saw this tweet, but there was a guy that was famous for tweeting out like, why would you you cast the most beautiful actress in Hollywood and actively made her look not sexy, and they literally said that in this tweet, and it went on for a while. Didn't see it in the theater, and then the person tweeted out once it was on home video, finally saw it, worst movie of the year, and then they just listed everything you could and just said it was bad, and on things that it was like the movies, everyone has praised the fight choreography and stunt work, and then it said bad fights, bad stunts. It was like, did you even watch the movie? Like there's a lot of that going on, that people had a distinct agenda. Certainly, if you didn't like it, some of the people I went to go see with it, they don't have any agenda. They're just good old boy Texan people that went to see that opening week. Some were like one of the guys that I went with, he went, he said, that's like going out with your friends to go to a restaurant from, food from a different country you've never had before, and you really appreciate the experience of trying it. I'm never going to eat it again, but I appreciated that it's different and that I did something. Like I've heard that from a lot of people, and some of my friends, they thought it was actually boring, which I thought was interesting. They don't have any agenda. But there's a lot of that on the internet with people that this is just feminist crap. Like,
unbelievable.
Like there's a couple things here and there where it's like, okay, but like there's nothing as gratuitous as in the finale of Endgame, where every girl in the movie that's a hero is suddenly all in one shot. There's nothing like that in the movie.
That's I hate that moment. It's so pandering.
And so I really dug it. I did not like the title. I did not like the trailers. It won me over. It was just this nice mix of like frantic Guy Ritchie stuff with John Wick action with comic book characters, and I dug it. So, all right, we'll take just like a couple more in here. If you really want me to answer your question, send it a super chat. We'll grab that real quick. Otherwise, we'll answer a couple of these real quick. What is your favorite Nolan film? I need to rewatch through all of them again to have a definitive answer. I have a ranking of them. I might have put Dunkirk at the top. I don't know if I'd stand by that a second time. That could have just been newness bias, and he did something that wasn't. It was a not a genre film, or it's not in the sci-fi or something like that. So that some of that bias, I don't know if I'd stick to that. But I love Inception. I love what Inception did.
Yeah, Inception's my favorite movie of all time, so that's definitely my favorite. His best film, I think, is Dunkirk. Even upon rewatch, I think what he just accomplished in that is just sublime. It's absolutely masterful, and I feel sorry for the people who don't like it. So,
here's one this person asking a bazillion times along the same line: what's your favorite Spielberg movie? Man, that is a tough one because a lot of my favorite movies are Spielberg movies. Probably Raiders if I were to pick one. The Jurassic Park's right there with it. Last Crusade is right there with it. Jaws is right there with it. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, love Raiders. I think Jaws though. I just think like he right out of the gate came out with with a troubled production, he came out with just one of the most effective, even still effective to this day, and exciting summer blockbusters of all time. And I absolutely love Jaws.
Matthew Joyce, have you seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel? I've seen all of the real Joss Whedon TV shows. He's mildly associated with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I haven't watched that one. That one's like run by his brother. All the actual ones, Dollhouse, Firefly, Angel, Buffy, I've watched all of them and own almost all the box sets. I don't think I have the Dollhouse sets, but I have like all the seasons of Buffy, Angel, Firefly, of course. And I've watched through Buffy more times, but as a single watch through, Angel was a little bit more impactful for me. I haven't watched through it. I think I've only fully watched through it one time. That's very powerful for me at the point in time I watched it. I didn't rewatch beginning to end, but I've watched Buffy beginning to end, I think 3 times. Just last night, my wife was singing the musical in our kitchen, musical episode of Buffy. And Firefly is just, a fantastic show that was killed too soon. What's your... Yeah. And I really like Dollhouse, too. Once you get past, like, the first 6 or so episodes of Dollhouse, which are, like, episodic network television, once it gets past that, it turns into this interesting show about... like, what if you had the ability to save someone's mind in a computer and put a new brain in them, and what are all the implications of that? The first few episodes are like, what if you could rent a person and give them a different brain? What would they do? And it's like rich people, little fantasy things that were very interesting. Yeah. And then you get to one episode and it just changes the whole show. And then they end with like these, each season episodes with these epilogues about this post-apocalyptic future that's just bonkers. So it's a really cool show. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What's you with the Whedon shows?
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of them. I mean, I watched enough of Buffy to get the gist. I loved Angel. Angel really, like, I just have vivid memories of waking up early on, like, weekdays during the summer and just watching a whole lot of Angel on, like, TNT or FX or something like that, and I just absolutely loved that show. So that's really the only one that I think I've seen the most of.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's one that it's because it's a little bit more focused on the character and kind of this guy with this dark past. It touches on some pretty, but so does Buffy. Buffy also gets real heavy.
Yeah, Buffy does too. But like Buffy was the template for what Angel would kind of become. They kind of like fixed their mistakes with Buffy and did it better in Angel. But like I think Buffy is like important in its own right. You know.
Super chat from Christoph the Polish guy. Is your favorite movie Star Wars Original Trilogy or Terminator 2? So what he's talking about, I've done 2 different videos where I gave my favorites. One was 2.5 years ago when my channel was pretty young. The other one was in January. The first time I cheated on my favorite and I said Star Wars Original Trilogy was my favorite movie. Second one I said Terminator 2 is my favorite movie. Here's the deal. I say this all the time, but I don't really like to pick favorites. Like, I don't like the fact that if you put me in a corner, do I pick this thing that I love that's a very big part of my life or this thing that I love that's a very big, important part of my life that are 2 different things that are very different? I don't like to do that. Rankings, I think, are different because it's like, here's a bunch of things that are very much the same. They're a category. How do you put the things in this category together? That's much easier for me than all things out there that matter to you. So, I mean, I think the difference is the question. If I cheat it and if I can squeeze 3 movies into my number 1 spot, I'll squeeze 3 movies into my number 1 spot and say this original Star Wars trilogy. But it's cheating. It's 3 movies. If I only have to pick 1 movie that I'm taking to that island, I'm not going to pick one of the 3 Star Wars movies. I'm going to take Terminator 2. That's the distinction there. And so it's cheating. That's why I put trilogy. I knew I was cheating. And that's why I didn't cheat when it came to the second time I did the video and picked Terminator 2. That's exactly the answer right there. That's why I did that. Griffin, are you taking the original Star Wars trilogy or Terminator 2 to a desert island?
Probably the original Star Wars trilogy. If I'm taking all 3 of them, then yeah, I'm taking
3.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's cheating because it's fuller arcs, more. There's a reason that works.
Exactly. And I mean, listen, I love Terminator 2. I think it's honestly amazing. I actually watched that film for the first time last year before Dark Fate came out, and I was blown away. So.
What?
Yeah,
How?
I'm not even joking. Yeah, it always passed me by for whatever reason. Like I'd seen the first one like a million times, but I never got to T2 until last year, and wow. Great movie, still holds up.
Yeah, and I mean the effects and everything like that. It's that both what Spielberg did with Jurassic Park and what Cameron did with Terminator 2. It's like they just knew exactly how to toe that line of practical and CGI, and so they just hold up so well. Quietly Known. Here's a fun one for me and you. Favorite Bourne movie. I always go back to the original for me. I'm a first movie kind of person. I like that one. The introduction to the characters, even the direction. Doug Liman's a little bit more straightforward, less shaky cam. I just dig that first one and that relationship. Blanking on her name, even though I watched the movie 2 weeks ago. All that stuff just worked a little bit better for me. How about you? I don't know your answer on this one.
Yeah, mine's Supremacy. Actually, I really love Supremacy. I think Supremacy is where it's like we've already established the characters, so now we're gonna go take a piece of his past that was integral in like him being the person that he was before the incident, and we're gonna bring it to the forefront and have him cope with that. And so I think Supremacy has some of the most emotional moments in it, especially the ending where he actually has to confront the daughter of the parents that he murdered, and he's doing it as like a completely different person. He has no like, I mean, he's obviously like come to terms with what's happened and he's remembered it, but it's just, I think that's such a powerful moment. I also just love the way Paul Greengrass kind of like paced those films. Like it was really cutthroat, and even though there's a lot of shaky cam in it, which I know now is kind of outdated, like there's a difference between when you see people doing shaky cam and when like Paul Greengrass does shaky cam. So the action in that film is also just exceptional. I love the car chase at the end.
Going to close out the last few kind of questions we have here with a super chat from Tommy. Don't know how to pronounce your last name. Do you think Snyder Cut comes out someday? So we've talked about this on the podcast several different times. I think we've both said we think yes. At some point in time, it'll come out, and we think with everyone locked at home, it should be right now.
It should, yeah.
Whatever they have, put it out right now. Do I ever think it'll come out? Absolutely. I think when you have something where there's so much demand, studios want to save face and make money, and they will make money if they put the Snyder Cut out there. And I think part of the problem is, and I don't know if this is their problem, but I think one of the things is the movie's not going to be this magic fix all for the movie Justice League. I don't think they're going to put the movie out there and everyone's going to be like, oh, now it's a good movie. I don't even think it'll have I suspect it might even not have as much of a bump depends. If this thing's 3 hours long and they add an hour to it and it really does feel like a totally different thing, maybe it has a bigger bump than Batman v Superman. But I've been so skeptical about this thing because of all the, he took two movies, squished them into one, and then they add some jokes in last minute. And then after they did all those changes, then Joss Whedon put in his goofy jokes and changed the color scheme and brightened everything up. So, anyway, what's your take, real quick?
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before it happens. And I contrary to, I guess, what you would say, I do think it'll be a better movie. And it'll be a completely different movie because none of Justice League really feels like a Snyder film. And I think the thing is when they actually release that film, it'll 100% be Snyder's vision. Because like before Joss Whedon took over, like Warner Brothers made Snyder change a lot of stuff. So like if we're going to go back to the core idea of what his original Snyder Cut is, being a successor to BVS, I genuinely do think it'll be a better movie. And at 3 hours long, we'll see what happens. Whether or not it'll be a finished film, remains to be seen. I think maybe one day it'll be finished, like completely finished, kind of similar to like a Richard Donner cut sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And that's the reason we can have a lot of hope. They did the Richard Donner cut. There was angry, crazy on that one too, and they did the Richard Donner cut. It was 25 years later, but they did it. And so it's a studio that does stuff like that. All right. Next question. This one's for me. Why are you only wearing one headphone? So if you weren't here early on at the beginning of the feed, basically, every time you guys leave a comment, because of the software I'm using, this is all a test run with new software. Every time you guys leave a comment, I hear a click in my ear. Every single one of these, I hear a click. And so when I had 2 ears on, I just heard it both sides of my head, click, 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 click. And so I just couldn't do that. So I pulled one off, and I've been able to like zone out and just focus in on what I'm saying, what Griffin's saying, and like every comment is a click in my ear. So sometimes it's like click, click, click. I wonder if you guys can even hear it. I don't know if you heard anything, could hear any clicking, but
I didn't hear anything. No. Yeah.
So anyway, that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Jack with the super chat. Are all the movies that have been delayed going to come out at the same time when this quarantine ends? Stay healthy. No, I mean they're coming out all over they're coming out all over. I mean it's a total reshuffle because it's not just let's push everything back 3 months. A couple of these movies went we're punting all the way down. We're going a year from now. F9 right out of the gate said nope, we're moving to next year. We're moving to a full year delay right out of the gate. Other ones went we don't know. Let's push pause September for Quiet Place. We're just going to push it back 4 months. A couple of the other ones, let's push it back 2 months. Wonder Woman, push back 2 months. So it's all over the place. There's not one answer. It's not simple. The part that you have to think about is that movie release dates are an art form and a science, and it's a collaboration. And it's both collaborative with the other studios, and it's also a competition with the other studios. They all want to make a lot of money. They want to make more than the other studios, but they can't just go head to head. And so you have to think all of them are going, oh crap, we have 3 months worth of movies that we can't put in theaters. Now we're shuffling down the line, but we don't know what you guys are doing. Where are they going to put Tenet? I don't want to go up against Tenet. I don't want to go up against Wonder Woman. And so it's this whole big gigantic chess game. But they also kind of want to work with each other. This is weird. Other thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think you just about covered it. Like, every studio has basically put out, well, not every, but like most of the major studios have basically put out an updated schedule. So like we saw the massive reshuffle that Disney did. I'm sure we'll talk about this on the podcast too, but like we saw the massive reshuffle Disney did with all their release dates. We saw Sony literally pushing all their films until next year. The fact of the matter is, like, people are going to have to move. The fall season, and even December especially, is just going to be way too crowded. Like, the films cannot feasibly make their money back if they all just release at the same time. It's going to be disastrous for profits. Even now, I think you'll see a little effect on the films coming out.
And
in
I think
December.
you even think about that when theaters are back open, we're afraid of people now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And then there probably will be regulations on gatherings until there's a vaccine. And so then you even think about, because of that, the complications. Answer this one real quick. Luca asks, have you seen Community? I haven't seen all of Community, but I watched a ton of it, like the first 4 seasons, like on repeat. I just never finished it because life happens, sort of stuff. So I watched the first 4 seasons a lot. I mean, some of the stuff, like the paintball episode and other ones, the kind of the classic episodes, are crazy, phenomenal television. It dropped on Netflix this weekend, and I started rewatching it last night. Like, we watched the first episode last night. My wife even tweeted about it. Have you watched Community?
I have not all the way through, but I've seen enough episodes. It's fun. It's good. There's a lot of great characters in it. So.
It's wildly uneven. It's like
yeah.
You watch the first episode and then what it establishes, and then by the end of the season you watch the paintball episode. It's like these are two wildly different shows.
It's kind of mind blowing that they're even in the same show. Like they you're right. They feel so like they're two different shows completely. So
okay, we're almost gonna end this deal. There's a couple more super chats that I have. A couple more from Christoph, the Polish guy, says, I cheat all the time. This is the guy that asked about my favorite movie. So he says, I cheat all the time. I have Lord of the Rings and original trilogy in my number 1 spot on my top 50. And, when you're doing your favorite lists, they're supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. When it turns into, you got to pick one, narrow it down. If you're not wired that way, you don't have to narrow it down. You don't have to do that. Yeah. So whatever's fun for you that makes for the best discussion that you enjoy having, that communicates what you actually feel, that's what you should do. Christoph also had another one. What's your son's favorite movie? Griffin, what's your son's favorite movie?
Pass.
So my son's favorite movie is the same as Griffin's favorite movie, Rise of Skywalker. He actually reaffirmed this last night. Griffin does not like Rise of Skywalker. He affirmed this last night. I said, hey, man, I don't remember what we were talking about. We're talking about some animated movies or something like that. And I was like, hey, is this your favorite? And he goes, no. Rise of Skywalker is my favorite. Like, he doubled, wasn't just the day that he saw it. He doubled down that it's his favorite. And he's almost to that point where I think that he can start articulating himself. And that's the one that he stated. And actually, my buddy Andy, right now while we've been doing all this, he's been texting me. I'm actually trading him his copy of Rise of Skywalker for some workout equipment that I have, since the universe is sold out of home workout equipment. I've got extra stuff in my garage, so he's going to take some of that stuff off of my hand, clear out my garage. I'm going to get his fancy copy of Rise of Skywalker. And fancy. He went out and got the 4K Steelbook, whole deal. So I'll have the fancy one. All right. I keep saying we're about to close out. We are, but we keep getting ones. Jay says, will you ever review Batman and Robin? I plan to go through all the Batman movies when the Batman comes out. I'll do a lead up, one of those Journey 2 series that I do for Batman movies whenever that one comes out. So yes, that will happen. So Iron Cap, and people have been asking me this whole time, my favorite Studio Ghibli film, I don't have one. I've only watched one of the movies. I'm not wired that way. I'm not the right person to ask. Do you have one?
Yeah, I haven't seen all of them either. I really like, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on them now. Spirited Away is really good. The Cat Returns is fun. My Neighbor Totoro is also really good. I don't really have a favorite, but I don't think Studio Ghibli has ever really made a bad movie. So,
I agree. They're the worst. I've literally only watched the one. I think I've only seen the one, and it's just not the way. I watched it with my buddy Andy. He came over and watched it. He's like, "What did you think?" I was like, "Too many metaphors." He's like, "Right, all these great metaphors." I'm not a metaphor guy. I just don't work that.
I think I remember really liking Kiki's Delivery Service as a kid. I think that's Studio Ghibli. I can't remember, but.
So Shock asks, what's your view on the Matrix sequels? I have a video where I rank them. It's all in there. I mean, like most people, I think they're a disappointment. GamerGirl, one more. Do you think New Mutants will be released on Hulu? I read an article recently that theorized that the reason that they haven't done that is because HBO cut a deal with Fox about 8 years ago to have first streaming rights. And I'm a little bit skeptical of just totally affirming that this is the case, because it seems like such an obvious answer that I haven't seen enough people bring it up. But why is Dark Phoenix on a competitor HBO streaming, even though it came out under Disney? Yeah, because of this deal. So if that makes so much sense of why they haven't done it, because if they're putting Artemis Fowl, if Onward is getting dropped so soon after theaters, of course they would have done that with New Mutants if they could. Everyone is saying that, and they just haven't done it. So I don't think they can. I think it's a good theory. I'm just skeptical because I have not seen enough other people bring it up as a proper theory. That makes sense to you?
I've also heard the thing that maybe there's something in Josh Boone's contract where they have to release it theatrically. So I don't know. So
that seems to be the case. I'll close out on this super chat from Alex Steinberg. So following your vid on Crisis, how do you feel about the track Arrowverse is going down now? Opinions on Flash season 6. So I'm just burned out on it. Ever since Crisis, as well as the Arrow finale, I am just fried. just not very interested. I haven't watched any Flash episodes since Crisis. I'll catch up. I plan to, and I'll rank the seasons and everything. But what do I feel about the path they're going down? It's just losing all of my interest. It's like they put so many eggs into the Crisis basket for this year of seasons, and then I just feel like they dropped the basket. Like they just really failed at it. Like there's some neat little like, oh, that was neat that they did that, but the consequences that it had for how they ended the show Arrow, the consequences that it had for even tying some things together and the implications of destroying universes, and then like, but it's a happy ending because they're all brought, like there's a lot of stuff about it that just left me with such a sour taste in my mouth that I'm just not feeling it. And even kind of Flash season 6, nothing about it really bugged me. Of all the episodes I watched, I don't really like it when Barry is in brooding mode, and he was in brooding mode because he was leading up to Crisis. There's just a lot of stuff like that just really left me underwhelmed with it, and so that's kind of my take.
I just completely stopped watching the shows. I was just done. I couldn't keep up, and then I was just like, it was like you had to watch so many shows that you didn't care about in order to understand what was going on in these shows, and it was just like The Flash was really good for like the first couple of seasons, and then just tanked. Arrow was great for like the first 2 seasons, maybe even like 3 or 4, whatever, and then it just went. And I couldn't care less. I genuinely could not care less about the Arrowverse.
Yeah, and I mean, some of these new shows are just they're not good. They're not keeping standards up. Fly through a few of these real quick. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Asking math questions that we can't answer. What is the value of x in -9 times x plus 9 equals 30? I can't do math while trying to read comments and have a conversation and speak articulately, so it also feels a little bit off topic to start doing math problems. Luke A, Star Wars prequels or sequels? It's tough. The prequels have a distinct vision, poor execution. The sequels have no vision, no consistency, but at times have some great execution. So you're picking which thing drives you crazy a little bit more. How about you, Griffin? And I have a video where I ranked all the trilogies, so you can see my full kind of breakdown where I landed on all that over there. But Griffin, how about you?
Yeah, after The Rise of Skywalker, to me, the sequel trilogy just didn't even happen. It's just fan fiction, so I go with the prequels. I think for all their issues, they're way more enjoyable. They have a cohesive vision, and Episode 3 is better than all 3 of the sequels combined. So,
and we'll close out on a sad note. Brendan Torres, which movie makes you cry the most? Like, I don't cry in movies, really. I don't. Not that I've never cried, but I'm not. Like, I can't think of a movie since doing my channel that I watched and started crying. If you've been close a few times, there's some powerful stuff in, like 1917 and some other ones, but I don't have a good answer.
There were like moments in 1917 where I teared up just because not because it was like inherently sad, but just because of just like the weight of the emotions of everything that was going on there. Gosh. I'm sorry. Waves. Waves was the last movie that really, really hit me on like an emotional level, like through and through, and I absolutely cried a lot in that movie.
Okay, real quick speed round. What's your favorite Wes Anderson movie? Royal Tenenbaums for me. What about for you?
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Someone asked, who do you want to play the new Wolverine? I have a fan cast. It's already out there. Someone asked, will I rank the new Marvel TV show, MCU shows when they come out and everything? Or will I rank them with the movies? I mean, I probably will at some point in time because there'll be so much demand. By default, I don't like to do that. I don't like to combine movies and TV together. But I'm sure I will just because there will be so much demand. That Marvel videos are my most popular content. And so if someone, like, I don't mind doing it, but just by default, movies and TV are 2 different things for me, but I'll probably do it together at point in time. Billy Bob Joe, is Griffin married?
No, not even close. Well, no, I shouldn't say not even close, but no, I'm not.
So we can get some dirt out there to see what happens with that one.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll close out on that one. Well, there's a couple quick, easy ones. What's your favorite David Fincher movie?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Gone Girl.
Probably go the same. Some of them I haven't, like, that are great, I haven't watched in a while. I haven't watched Seven in quite a while, and so whenever a new one comes out this year, I'll give it a proper watch. Do you ever think they'll ever give a fourth Cloverfield movie? With the way they did that universe, it's possible once they have another project, but after what they did with Cloverfield Paradox, it almost kind of soured me on it. I liked kind of the idea of this kind of tie together event thing, but I didn't think the movie was very good, and it very clearly felt like, hey, we've got this movie that's nothing related to Cloverfield, but if we put these 3 scenes in it, we can tie it to Cloverfield. So, but I mean, I think if they have another idea that they can do a Cloverfield gimmick again, they'll do another Cloverfield gimmick with it. So,
yeah, I mean, like Overlord was originally supposed to be a Cloverfield film, and then they decided not to do that, which thank God.
Yeah. And I mean, if you kind of look at it, you think about after the response to Paradox, where I think a lot of people are like, I don't know about this. Yeah. I think that, soured them on Overlord. Like, let's maybe not, like, World War II zombie movie works in and of itself. We don't have to put it we don't have to tie it into all this is happening tied to Cloverfield stuff. So, yeah. Okie dokie. All right, cool. Thank you so much for joining me, Griffin. Everybody, we'll be back in a couple of days to do a live podcast. So it'll be like our normal podcast. Probably have a little bit, we'll have some interaction with you guys on your thoughts on the subjects we discuss, and then probably take a few questions at the end over there. But it's been a lot of fun, and I mean, these things fly by. It's been 2 hours. Yeah. We've been going for 2 hours. Like, I keep thinking, we're almost done, and then 30 more minutes go by. But that's the way the live streams happen. We're just having fun answering questions, talking movies, and a lot of the questions you guys are asking, we've talked about a lot of it on the podcast. I've done rankings on some of this stuff. So if you have some of these questions, like someone's asking, like, what's your favorite James Cameron movie? I have a James Cameron movie ranking. So, like, if stuff like that, you can just search for it. And I've got like 1,200 videos on my channel. I've talked about a lot of stuff, and even new stuff like Christian Bale and Thor 4. We've talked about that on the podcast. So check out our podcast. Pretty cool stuff. And if you don't know, on Patreon, I do a live stream almost every Saturday. There's normally about 10 people in there where when I do those. And so it's AMA. Join at any level. You can join that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much. And I guess, actually, I'll still be talking to you, Griffin. You don't have to sign off. We'll just be closing out the live stream. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
And that's into there. And what about over here? Maybe we're still streaming. I don't know.
Did you hit end stream?
I did. Well, I said end stream, but I didn't click finish.
Oh, you have to click finish, I think.
I've clicked finish. And then there's a third one, end broadcast.